Welcome to the Network Configuration Scrubber app launch. I'm so glad you guys are here. You have made it. You are here. You are the guys that we made this tool for. You are the network engineers. You are the systems engineers. You are the junior engineers. You are the IT leads. You are all the things, right? And you're here because you care about the same thing I do, security, right? And so I'm Todd. I'm excited about this. We have been working on this for months. And this is a passion project of mine. And this is something that I really believe that is going to impact the network engineering community greatly because of all of the bells and whistles that it has in regards to security, making sure that your network is fortified against attack, and it will definitely shrink your attack vector, right? So that being said, let's get into this, right? So let me tell you a few things before we get into it, right? So we have a special guest, right? His name is Alex Satarian. He's a senior systems engineer from the Orlando Magic basketball team. Listen, he's one of the smartest guys I've ever met in my career, right? And so we're gonna talk to him at some point in this this app launch, once we kind of show you a few things that the app can do. Once we get to a breaking point, we're going to interview him and talk to him and get his perspective on what he thinks about the tool, right? And so also, you need to do this. Now, let me grab some water. I'm getting kind of parched here. Here's the thing. It is very important that you participate. And I hear you saying, how do we do that, Tom? I don't know. What am I doing? What am I doing here? I'm glad you asked that question, right? So this is what you're going to do. You have to either comment or send some kind of chat message saying that the tool is awesome. NCS, Network Configuration Scrubber, I love it. We're going to get this for our company, whatever have you, or it sucks and I don't like it. But if you don't do that, here's what's going to happen. You're going to miss out at the end of the app launch. And we're going to do this in 30 minutes or so, right? At the end of it, we are going to randomly pick someone to get a free year's worth of premium access for the tool, right? So you're going to have free access to it. You can use it as you wish for a year with all the premium access, all the bells and whistles. So with that, let's get into it. All right, so here's the NCS Network Configuration Scrubber. And so this is the landing page, right? And this is the first thing you're going to see every time you log in, right? You're going to see the scrubber button, the security checker. We're not going to worry about pricing and support. We're going to talk about that, at the end. But I want you to kind of get familiar with the lay of the land. You have the configuration import where you can actually drag and drop your actual, .cfgs, or you can do things like just copy and paste your config. Now, once you do that, you have a few different scrubbing options, right? Now, these are used to redact information from your configs, right? So you have the IP address, you have the domain names, you have the credentials, you have the interface descriptions, and the security analysis checker, right? So once you do that and you pick everything that you want to be redacted in your config, you hit this button right here. Once you do that, we're off to the races. We can take a look and see all of the things that are misconfigured and so on and so forth. But while we do that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go now. This is a disclaimer here. Because of security reasons, I'm not going to show you a real config that I use at work because that would be crazy. So we're not going to do that. So I'm grabbing configs that I prompted chat to give me based on testing configs, right? So, and that's what it is. So let me go and grab a config so we can get the ball rolling on this. Okay, so we got that. And now, all right, so I'm going to copy this in here. Now, you can see this is a config in here, right? Now, just to let you know, this is a very bad config. Based on what? This is a 2960. We all know that that is a deprecated end of life switch. If you have that on your network, please, you need to get rid of it quick. Now, I'm going to actually help you present that case because I know switches cost a lot of money. So later on in the actual demo, we're going to show you how you can do that and present that to leadership to make that case, right? But now here's the good stuff, right? So we're going to redact IP address, domain names, credentials, interface descriptions, right? And we're going to do a security analysis, right? So I'm going to click that. Now, right away, you can see it says configuration scrubbed successfully. Process 52 lines locally. Now, I'm glad it stopped here. We're going to stop here because when it says locally, this tool works all in browser memory. There is none of this information is going to anyone's server. It's not going to anyone's cloud storage repository or anything like that. And I know you're saying, how is that possible? I'm going to prove that, not on this page, but the next page. So you got to hang tight to almost to the end. And I'm going to prove that, right? Because I know if it were me, I would not just trust that. I want to see it, right? So here we go. So now you got found 6 security issues, right? Now, if we scroll down, we're already in preview mode, right? And so you can see this is the config, and it did in fact redact the information. You got host name redacted, the enable secret, right? All those things are redacted. Now, if you want to do a comparison, which is to me a better way to look at this, is you just have to click the diff view. Once you do that, this is where you can compare. Okay, this is what my host name was compared to what's gone, right? And this is to me really good. So let's say you have some kind of audit, CMMC audit or something like that, and the auditor says, hey, I need to see how are you managing your switches based on, security reports that are not being used. You can go and show that information securely. Now, there's a reason why I say that. Just because they're auditors, that doesn't mean that they're protecting your data. They're going to take that evidence that you print screen and give to them, and they're going to put it in some kind of repository, their location. We don't know where that's going. So if they get compromised, guess what? They have that information. So this is super important. And this is how you would give it to them. You would just click the download button right here. And this shows you kind of a 30,000 foot view of that, right? And then you hit download. Once you're sure that this is all correct, you hit download, and then they have their evidence, right? So that's what that's for. But now on the right side, you have security analysis, right? It's telling you right now, you have 6 findings, 2 criticals, 3 highs, 1 medium. Now, this is going to tell you everything at a glance. Now, the reason I like this part of the tool is because it just doesn't tell you what's wrong. It tells you how to fix it. So your first critical is unencrypted enable password. The enable password is stored in plain text, right? And that's what you're definitely doing by doing enable password. You're showing it in plain text. We all know that's a no-no. But at the same time, it's saying, but hey, I'm recommending this is how you actually fix it. You replace enable password with enable secret. Like, it just tells you which uses stronger MD5 hashes. Boom. This is actually the command to do that. And it says, better yet, use AAA authentication with TACACS or Radius. This is something you should have on your switches anyway, based on authentication pulling from your domain controllers. So you can authenticate this and do tracking of who's ever, each engineer who's logging in or logging on to the switch, right? This is just should be used as a backup, right? If the domain controller goes down, DNS issues happen, and you can't use that, then you can do the local user login, which is the enable secret, right? But this tells you that, right? And so you have VTY lines, which is the telnet. This is how you remote in. It's telling you VTY lines are not restricted to SSH only, meaning you're using, transport, import, and telnet SSH. Well, it says right here, telnet transmits all data, including credentials in plain text. Never use that. That is a huge no-no, and you should never do that, right? But again, it tells you, recommendation, this is how you fix it. Configure transport input SSH on all VTY lines to disable. Telnet is generated. This is how you actually generate it, right? You do, this is the real command, generate RSA keys and enable SSH version 2, only with IP SSH version 2. This is how you actually turn that on. And it's telling you, right? And it goes on and on and on and on. I don't want to belabor this because this is something that I want to kind of just give you a glance at. I want to get to the meat and potatoes on the actual security checker tool. But as you can see, every line where it gives you the level of, security findings, highs, and different things like that, it tells you, look, you're using username admin, shouldn't use that, password admin, tells you how to fix it. Again, right here, you're using HTTP, should not use a service where you're showing it in plain text, right? Which transmits data, including credentials in plain text. That's what you're doing. Again, this actually shows you how to remove it by doing no IP HTTP server. That removes that. And then when you do PHTTP secure dash server, that adds HTTPS. So now even if you want to use it, you can, this is the command to do it. Now, maybe this is a situation where you were brought in because your previous network engineer left. So you don't know this service is even running. This is a tool that you can actually run on all your switch stacks and all of your IDS where you got 1, 2, 300 or whatever it is, right? You can run it and say, I want to know if he had on HTTP. This will show you. And then what you can do, you can schedule some change controls with upper management and then get these switched out, right? So this is the power of this part. But I want to show you this now. Well, this is the down. So here's the reporting button. I don't want to click that because I want you to see more features in regards to reporting, right? So let's skip that part. And now we're going to go to security checker and security analysis. Now, immediately you can tell that this is very verbose, meaning you're going to have to put in more short commands to get more information in regards to what's happening on your switches, right? So you're going to need a show version, which is essential. And then you're going to do show running config, which is very needed. And then show log, show interface, and show IP route. And then you're going to click this button right here. But before we do that, I want to take this time before we get into this, I want to take this time to get more perspective from our guest, Alex Asatarian. Again, he's one of the smartest guys I've ever worked with. He works for the Orlando Magic. He's been in IT for almost 15 years. Very smart guy, very sharp. And so we want to get his perspective on it because he's been privileged to actually have an account and to kind of mess around with it and kind of give feedback on what he thinks about it. So with that, let's welcome Alex Asatarian.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for the wonderful introduction. Wow. It's I don't know who this other Alex is that you're talking about. Sounds very smart. But yeah, no, I'm glad to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me to your app launch. This is awesome. I love what you built. I think, one of my favorite things is the simplicity of it. It gives you what you need. I don't know how many people are overlooking their IDF closets and their switch stacks and just looking at layer 2 and bypassing it. But this gives you so much information in such an easy to digest output with instructions that are so clear that it doesn't matter if you're a junior admin, it's your first time using Cisco, or if you're a seasoned vet and a pro. It's just direct. It gives you the right output, very clear instructions. And the second best part of that is that you're not sharing any of this data with an LLM. You're not uploading it anywhere. No one's got access to your config. And if you do want to upload it somewhere, you use that redact feature and you take that redacted version and you can upload that. So that's my favorite feature. But we can talk about so many of the other things, like business justification, the executive summary that it comes with, in the reporting, a very clearly defined list of issue criticalities. How many criticals, how many highs, mediums, lows that you have, what to tackle first. Gives you just a very direct path of priorities. So I love it, man. Great job. Absolutely, very useful tool. I can see so many people using this.
Awesome, man. And you bring up a good point. Here's the unbelievable thing. Yeah. So we know there's a multitude of large language models out there, right? You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, and all the others, Perplexity, Grok or Grok, or however you pronounce it. But here's the thing. Here's the misconception that people don't really know, that these companies, you're literally, if you upload any config to any one of these LLMs, you're literally placing your data, your lifeline, the DNA of your network. You're literally giving it to someone else's server, and having them place it in their storage repositories, right? And this is the thing. We all know that Claude, they got hacked, right? So if you did that, previous to that, guess what? Your configs are out there for attackers to, take a look at, exploit, see what vulnerabilities you have, and check out the lay of the land. And so this tool will actually let you do this, in a very safe way, right? I like to say that our configs are the DNA or the lifeline of our network. Because, think about it, right? We have end users, they do their thing, and it goes through a Ethernet cable, then it goes to a switch, then it goes through a fiber, which is trunk, then it goes to the MDF, from the IDF, and then from there to the firewall, and then out. That's all traverse traffic that's going through wires, right? And if you don't manage and take care of the security piece of your configuration, you can be in very big trouble.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And not, you mentioned some of the major LLMs, which, people may or may not trust, and you don't know where your data ultimately ends up. It might be safe today, but not tomorrow. You can't guarantee that. But the other thing is how many AI or processing tools out there that people are using that are not these large backed organizations, right, with security protocols and that are doing all the right things, right? So you could be uploading your data somewhere you don't even know. Like, just go out there and Google, hey, I want to analyze my Cisco config, and how many results do you get, So this tool right here doesn't leave your browser, your data doesn't leave your browser, and I think that's a wonderful thing. Yeah, because right. Like you said, it's the blueprint of your environment, right? You don't want to share that with anyone.
Correct. And also too, so if you were to use this tool, like, give me a scenario of, an everyday workflow or a quarterly workflow of how you would possibly use it.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, I envision this being very useful for is just a check. Just say, hey, we deployed a new switch stack or a new location. Let's just validate what we're putting out there. Let's validate our config, make sure that we don't have anything fundamentally wrong with it. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just a very simple, you can run this once a month. You can upload a config to it once a month and just double check. One of my favorite features of it is the version upgrade, right? So, hey, am I running a up-to-date version of iOS? Is it the recommended version, long-term support, or not, right? And your tool spits that out, man. I think that's one of the most valuable things.
Right. And, I'm going to kind of get into it. I wanted to save it for later, but, once we get into the reporting part of it, that's a feature that is going to be helpful for pleading your case for, let's say you do have, God forbid, a 2960 in your network, and you need to plead that case that to management who's going to make these acquisitions, because switches are very expensive. You can show them on paper with the reporting that, hey, we have all these vulnerabilities and we can't even fix them because we have an end of life switch or we have a stack of them. We need to get rid of them. And I think it gives more impact to, back your case on, upgrading your switch stacks.
100%. Yep. 100%. And then, yeah, just the quick fixes as well. If you're not 100% certain, is this the right way? Or like you mentioned earlier, you're taking over a new position, you're taking over somebody else's work. You want to quickly go through and validate instead of reading line by line. What better tool than this,
Well, we started late, so I want to keep anyone, but I really do appreciate you stopping by. I know you're a busy man, busy husband, father, all that good stuff. But I want to thank you for stopping by and kind of chatting and giving us your perspective on this. And thank you, man. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Love what you're doing. Good luck with the rest of the launch, man. And we'll connect soon. Thank you.
Thanks, bro. Have a good one. All right. So we're going to move along to the next part or the next segment of the launch. So let's get back into it, guys. Let me know if you can see this. Okay. Okay, good. So this is what we're going to do. So this is going to be kind of a two-parter. So this is where I'm going to actually show you or prove to you that there's no data being saved, right? And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to now. The reason I'm going here, I want you to notice all of these get commands, all these get statuses, and then the post. So immediately my browser is getting information and it's sending information immediately. Now, that being said, let's go over to here. And I want to show you how, this is not doing any of that, right? And I'm going to do a refresh. And that's it. So basically, all you seeing is just gets, right? And this is good because you need gets to actually have the server present to you the actual page that you're seeing now. But the good part of it is you don't see any posts and you're not. Now, let's take that a step further. We're going to grab a few show commands, right? And so while I'm doing that, because it's going to take me a few seconds here, I just want you to kind of think about the whole workflow and how this is working and how this would fit into, your environment as a network engineer. Because I know when I was kind of thrust in the position of, being the new network engineer, I said, challenge accepted, right? I knew I could do it, but my question was, can I do this in a secure fashion? That's what my whole worry was. I knew I was smart enough to figure it out and keep the network working, right? But the question was not keeping it working. The question was, can I keep this network safe? Or is it safe? Because I didn't know what was going on with the network. And, I would be lying to you if I never had one thought to say, well, what if I just put it in chat? And immediately my security hat was like, no, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. And so I didn't. But you will be surprised at the people that actually think this is a good idea, because it is absolutely not. Again, think of it like this. You're taking your configuration and you're literally taking it and putting it on someone else's computer. At a very basic level, that's what you're literally doing. And you don't want to do that for all the reasons that we just spoke about, right? You just don't want to do that because you're putting your environment at risk. So that being said, I have all of the show commands. I have IP route, interface, show log, show running config, and show version. Now, what you're going to notice is when I hit this button, nothing's going to happen over here, right? The only thing that happened is gets to actually run the program from the server. That's it. But there's no post. So everything I just put in here did not go anywhere. And again, this is just it telling you the security checker completed, processed locally. We did that, right? Found 11 vulnerabilities and 8 security issues, right? So at a very quick glance, you can see right now, there's no data being saved, right? This is all gets. This is all, excuse me, your browser going and getting the information that it needs to actually run the program from the server. That's all it's doing. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and I'm going to close this for a second. Now, this is the actual output of the data that we just placed in here, right? And so you have a few things to look at. If you want to just do a quick glance, you can always click this diagnostic log and it'll tell you at a quick glance, what do you have? You know, you can see that you have a 2960 and all of the different things that it just did a diagnostic for, right? A diagnosis for. But I digress. This is what we really want. We want to see the criticals. Immediately, this tells you critical EOL, end of life, C2960. Again, if you have this in your environment, I would highly recommend that you get rid of this ASAP, because this switch is definitely could be harmful for your network based on this alone, right? Now, obviously, you're going to see there is 11 criticals, right? 11 vulnerabilities. But again, this is telling you exactly. Now, it's not only telling you, hey, this has reached end of life. By the way, it's saying recommended replacement models. You can actually purchase a C9200 48T. Now, this is what I was kind of alluding to when I was talking to Alex. These switches are not cheap. They're very expensive, right? But when you have this kind of data, this will actually help you plead your case to upper management. And then we're going to get to that as well. But again, you have more information that is showing you the end of life advisory. Like, look, end of life and end of cell notice. This thing is done. It's been done, right? And then you have this, so all of the things right here, it's just giving you information on top of information. Now let's go to the known vulnerabilities, right? You have 11, right? So, and this is obvious. We already know that, but I just want to show you that it actually does this based on the CVEs, right? So you have next hop resolution protocol vulnerability, translation, denial of service, FTP server. You have all these different things that is super bad. Now I'm not gonna go through all of them because obviously there is a lot, but you get the idea, right? And you can always click the hyperlink and get more information on it as it pertains to your switch stack, right? But now you can go further down and you can go to security findings, right? We have 8, right? And immediately you can see that, you have, again, you have device model. It shows you that end of life, 2960 series, tells you, last date of support was October 31st, 2019. No software updates or security patches available. It's telling you right there. This thing is done. It's cooked. Just get another one, right? You need to get rid of it ASAP. And this is something that you can plead your case against. Now, this is the beauty of this tool. It never just says, hey, you have an issue. Thank you. Goodbye. It never does that. It's always going to say, by the way, here are a few recommendations to fix this for you, right? And one is replace the device immediately. Recommended replacement C9200 48T or the 48 port switch, or the C9200L 48T 4G. So it's telling you, right, what you can do. Now, here's some of the things that you may or may not know, right? Here is a critical, which is weak enable password, type 0. That's clear text, right? These are the types of levels of encryption that it does when you create password. So it's saying that you have a type 0, which is plain text, and type 7 is easily reversible. So it's saying even if you had type 7, it's still bad. But it's saying, okay, on top of that, here's a recommendation, use enable secret instead, which uses stronger MD5 hashes in that case, right? So you definitely want to use this rather than using enable password, and it's redacted, of course, so you don't see that information, right? So security. And then right here. So now it gets into the services, right? HTTP server enabled. Again, if you're new to the environment and you just taking it over, maybe you don't know that all of the switch stacks have HTTP service turned on, which is bad, right? You need to at any level do one of the two things: either turn it off or turn on HTTPS. Well, how do you do that, Todd? Well, guess what? You don't have to ask me. You can look at the recommendation, right? It's right here, right? Disable HTTP and use HTTPS. How? This is the command. No IP HTTP server. Easy. That's literally it. This is the command. That's it. This is the command to remove that service, and you're done. But you're saying, hey, Todd, I really would like to use the HTTP. We want to just at least browse to it in our browsers. Okay, well, then this is how you do it safely. You do IP HTTP secure dash server, and that will turn on HTTPS. Easy, right? But it's saying you have this on, turn this off immediately. Then we have telnet. Again, this is how you get into your switches, right? We just telnet into it. And again, it just reiterating that, including this will include passwords in clear text, making them easily interceptable. We all know that. We know that you should never use telnet. Now, some of us use it when we're building these switches and these switch stacks. We know that. And sometimes we forget to turn it off. Well, guess what? When you run this, it tells you, by the way, you still have this on. Disable telnet and use SSH only. It's literally telling you. And it tells you how to turn it on, right? Here's the command: transport, import, SSH under the line VTY configuration, right? So it's telling you everything. And again, it just shows you what you have. Plain text again, password, just things you just should not do. And this is good too, because it showed that was a low, but is it really a low? Because now why, and I'm not saying this is the time, right? It's showing, 22. But let's say this was midnight. Let's say this was 1 o'clock a.m. 1 a.m. in the morning, right? And you see failed login attempts and you see like 30 of them. That is a huge red flag, right? And this tells you, right? Let's pretend that was 30. You have 30 failed login attempts from one unique source. That's super bad. It's telling you that, right? This could indicate brute force attacks or misconfigured credentials. Right here, it spells it out. Misconfigured credentials. You have a misconfiguration right there, right? And then it tells you, okay, well, here's the recommendation to fix it. Review failed login sources. Consider implementing login rate limiting, meaning put a timeout on it. So it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you're not active, it'll log you out, which that's what you should do, because that's what we actually do on our end users workstation. Or if you're not, you should do that, right? But this is best practices, right? So you have using AAA with TACAX Plus or Radius. Again, this is telling you use your domain controller to log in, so we can at least find out who actually, was logging in. Maybe it was John that he didn't know his password got compromised and it wasn't him at 1 a.m., but it shows him. So that's some of the things that this will actually help you. Now, if you're just using a local login, you won't know that. So again, it goes to say enabling login delay, right? You want to do that for sure. Investigating sources is telling you the IP. This is incredible. Like, this is something that you would have to do some digging if you have a SIM or a scene. We all call it something different, whatever you have. And you got to go hunt down, okay, let's find out what IP. Okay, let's find the MAC address. Okay, let's find this and that. It's telling you, you got to do that. 192.168.1.8. Go find it. Let's figure out what happened on that machine, right? So you have all that information. Then you have flapping ports. Now this right here I wish I had this tool just because of this one feature, right? So it's literally telling you, now this is coming from the show logs, right? It's showing you that you have flapping ports or flapping interfaces, right? However you want to phrase it. And it's telling you it's on gigabit Ethernet 103. It's literally telling you. And then you can be like, you know what? John over in accounting was telling me that he was having intermittent issues. Guess what? That's probably why. That's probably why he was having those issues. So now you can go to that interface and, it said it experienced 3 state transitions: down, up, which is super, that's definitely showing you that it's a flapping port because it's going in and out, and it's definitely intermittent. And it's showing, all of the cycles, but here's the good thing. It says cycling indicates cable issues. This is OSI layer 101. Check layer 1. We all know that, right? So go check the cable, get you a cable tester. Maybe you got a Fluke, if you're fortunate to have that, or maybe you just have a run-of-the-mill cable tester. Check the tape, check the cable. If you have a Fluke, you can check it from end to end because it may not be the cable. It may be from the patch panel to that, port in that person's office. But either way, check this and make sure that's not the problem. Then you can move on and you can check faulty hardware. It may be the actual port going bad, or it may be duplex mismatch. This happens a lot. You may have full duplex or half duplex. This can definitely cause flapping ports, but it's telling you all of the possible things that it may be. It's just not, saying, oh, you have flapping port on 103. That's it. Like, it's telling you what it may be. And again, here's the recommendation. Check physical connections for gigabit Ethernet 103. It's telling you, again, verify cable integrity, port configurations, and duplex speed. Definitely speed can cause it, because if you have mismatched speed, that will definitely happen. Now, if you turn it on auto speed, you're fine. But let's say you were testing it, forgot to change it, and you plug that in, and then you found the issue, but you found it very quickly, right? So this is why I like this, because it speeds up your investigation process, right? So again, here's a command that is showing you the command. Let's say you didn't know it offhand, like show interface gigabit Ethernet 103 for detailed diagnostics. It's literally telling you run this command just to get a baseline of what's happening on that port, and it will give you that information. Now it gives you even more information based on, another interface that's using Fast Ethernet 03 has over 86,000 total input errors, CRCs. We know that's super bad. 25,000 frame errors. Anytime you see this, this is very bad, and it's indicative sometimes of a bad cabling, physical layer issues, or duplex mismatch. Again, it's telling you, right? But it's saying, okay, by the way, you can run this command right here, or you can run show controllers to see if the actual interface is healthy. Or you can run these commands or show CDP neighbors for that detail. And it'll give you information like this based on this command. I think you can see the CRC errors, which is super bad. But the point is, this thing just doesn't tell you have a problem. It's like, hey, here's a recommendation for it. Actually, here are all the commands you can run. Just run them, right? You can give this to your junior engineer, and there you go, right? You have that information right there, right? And then again, it says collision issues, which is indicative of all of the things we just showed, right? CRC information, CRC errors, frame errors, overruns, right? You definitely may have an issue. Now, if you do have collision issues, then this will probably be, if you have high collision to just high duplex operation, half duplex operation, or network congestion, that's bad, because let's see why, right? It's saying, hey, this is the recommendation. Consider switching Fast Ethernet 03 to full duplex mode if currently half duplex. So switch it, right? You can do that. Or check for excessive broadcast traffic or network loops. And then review spanning tree configurations. Now, I want to stop here because this right here actually happened to me, right? So quick story. I know you guys have had these probably similar things, right? So quick story. Company I used to work for, it was my last day. They decided to do desk moves. Now, normally it was a small team, myself and my help desk guy. Normally we assist with that because of obvious reasons. Now, back then I didn't know networking like I do, so I didn't really know what was happening. So we let them do their own desk moves. Maybe an hour later, we started getting that whole IDF, that whole side kept flapping up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. So we're like, what is going on? What happened? And so literally my last day became the longest day of my life at that job ever. So I ended up calling a friend of mine. He came in and he immediately went to the switch, ran show log. At the time, I didn't know what that was. And he saw just traffic, just fluttering, just packets, right? And he saw what port it was on. Let's say port, 03, 103, right? And as soon as he said that, the light switch went off. I ran to this person's table and I saw that they daisy chained their phone to their computer in such a way that it created a loop, right? And I'm pretty sure somebody on this demo can attest to that, right? So you can definitely get a broadcast storm by having someone, an end user, perform a desk move and disconnecting all their cables from their computer and their VoIP phone, and then try to plug it in. You can definitely get you can definitely get what's called broadcast storm very easily. But I digress, right? So let's get back to it. So right here, if we look, okay, I like this part right here because this is very to the point, right? You have remediations that are very quick to the eye, right? You can see you have 11 known vulnerabilities detected, 2 criticals, so on and so on, right? And then you have route analysis. Now, I won't get too deep into this. It's very self-explanatory, but it's literally showing you that you have some routing issues here. And it's going to show you that and tell you that, right? And I won't go through all these because I want to get to the reports and then get you guys out of here, right? Because I started late. So let's go to the reporting. Hey, and this is the cool part, right? This is what I like. So you found all these issues. Now you got to plead your case to leadership, basically saying, hey, we need to spend $50,000 on some new switches. And you have to plead that case like you are a Morgan and Morgan lawyer, right? That being said, you're going to need as much clean, easy to read data as possible. This will give it to you. So you're going to click the executive summary. Immediately, you get a clean report, right? Plainly to the eye, right? Very easy to read. Anybody can read this and know exactly, without even knowing what a switch is, that you have 5 critical issues, 11 high priorities, 2 medium priorities, and you have a total of 19 total issues, right? Very plainly. Literally, your exec will probably just look at this and say, all right, that's all I need to see. Go ahead and put in a request so we can get these replaced ASAP. Just because you have this, right? All you have to do is download the report, send it to him, have him review it, and request a meeting, and then request a change control once you have gotten all of your hardware, right? But again, all it does, it just kind of goes through everything we discussed already. It just kind of briefly says it here, but it looks a lot cleaner to me, at least for an exec to read. And he's probably not going to read all of this stuff, but at least he has it. He can go to his board and say, hey, we need to spend $50,000. This is for him to take as MO as well. And they can say, why? Why do you need to spend $50,000? We have switches. We've had them for 30 years. Well, that's the problem. they're 30 years old. And you can go and show that here, right? You can say, okay, here's all the criticals, here are all of the advisories, upgrade to, right? It's telling you, like, anybody can read this as a no-brainer and say, all right, we need to fix this ASAP, right? And it's very clean. So this is why I like this, because this will help you plead your case, right? Like a Morgan and Morgan lawyer. So let's go to fix action, right? Now, fix action is clean as well, but it's more so for the engineer, the network engineer, to say, you know, hey, this is some things that we need to do change controls for. And also, you can actually give this to your junior admin, right? You can give them some of the easy work, right? So you can just kind of scroll down. You know, we know what these are. This is pretty much the same thing. We're not going to upgrade, but let's pretend this was the 9200 and we had to do some of these fix action instructions, right? And you can give them a few things, right? You can say, hey, junior admin, just go to IDF 3 and run this command, give me the diagnostic information, or run all of these and tell me what you see, right? And this is a good learning moment for him, because now he gets to get his hand dirty and really run commands that really make sense, that he's really going to use a lot. And he understands what he's looking for and what these commands are going to do based on the findings. So it makes sense to give this to them, right? And then again, you just keep going down. And, you know, again, these reports were made very plain and very clean for this reason, because the last thing you want is to have, let's say, a report that's all, you know, jumbled up and you can't read it. And it's just so chaotic that you just can't understand anything, right? So, you know, that's why we kind of created that. And to me, that's why I feel like it's such a powerful tool, right? But that being said, I really appreciate you guys joining. You guys are trailblazers, let me tell you, because this is the beginning of a great tool. I believe that the NCS Network Configuration Scrubber app is going to be revolutionizing everything based on everything I just showed you, and the price points and different things like that. It's super affordable. And you guys need to, at least for anything, just create an account. Now, I'm going to let you know, this is something that is a goal of mine. Our goal is to reach 2,000 subscriptions by the end of the year. And I know that you guys can help me do that. Now, we're going to be doing these different types of demos at least once a month or once every 2 months, just so we can kind of get more into the meat and potatoes and answer more questions and answer some of your questions based on your feedbacks. Because to be quite honest, if you had a question, all you would have to do is go to support and then, put your name, email, different things like that, and then go to whatever it is, right? You can go to, where is it at? General question, tech support, or, a bug report, anything like that, right? But you can give your feedback probably on the general questions portion of it, right? Or feature requests. You can even say, hey man, I think it would be cool if we had this. And then we can get with the development team and we can add that. We do it all the time, right? That's how we literally built this tool to what you see today. So that being said, I'm gonna leave you with this. Everybody be safe out there with this storm out there. And everybody have a great weekend. And thank you for coming. See you next time.
Waiting.